And so we hear this morning about two different stories about seeds. We hear first about the farmer, the person who has scattered the seed and watches it grow and indeed harvests it, but has no idea how it actually grew. What caused that to happen? And indeed, anybody who's planted seeds ever, you know that some grow and some don't. Some seem to grow beyond our wildest expectations. Weeds have a way of doing that. They grow in impossible areas and grow up into healthy plants, whereas other seeds that we care for and nurture sometimes just don't seem to take root. And then we hear the parable about the mustard seed, where he talks about the tiniest seed grows up and becomes something amazing, something that is so wonderful that it supplies food and it supplies shelter to many, many in this world. I was struck that this was the lectionary passage for today because it brought me into thinking about the seeds that I tried to sow. And some of them, I'm sure, were seeds that were dead at birth, that had no life in them. And some took root. And some took root. It has been such a joy to be with you folks. I've learned so much, so I will tell you that you also planted seeds within me. And I have learned and I have grown, and that is an amazing and wonderful thing, and proof that you're never too old to learn. But I look and see the results of the seeds planted in you. And I can see a little bit of that. And I know that not from anything that I have done, not from anything that you have done, but from what God does, that there are seeds that can take root in you and can grow. And again, that parable of the mustard seed pops out at me, because that little tiny seed grows into something that feeds and shelters the multitude. That, after all, is our calling from day one, to care for others, to take care, to offer food, to offer shelter, to offer hope to this world that we live in. I see the start of things within you that I may or may not have had a piece of. I am cognizant that sometimes we learn and grow because somebody says something that we say, yes, that is what I needed to hear. And I am also cognizant of all the times that we grow when somebody says something and we say, that is the stupidest thing that I have heard. And then take the next step and say, so if that's wrong, what is the right thing? And so that I trust that whether I said the most wise, beautiful thing that opened you up and allowed a seed to take root in you, or that I said something that was so stupid it cracked you open to say there's got to be a better way, I trust that God is even now watering the seeds, that God is even now growing you toward being the person that you were created to be. We give thanks for this time together. We have weathered a pandemic. It's not something that has been said in 100 years, but we have weathered a pandemic. And we have learned how to be family, how to be community in and through this. And indeed, we've learned how to stretch our boundaries to include people that were not part of this community, how to stretch our boundaries to include people that are part of our families but were not part of this community. As we look to move forward, we're going to find new challenges in front of us. We're going to find places where the ground has been paved over and we're going to have to be like a weed and force our way through to find that hope, to find that place to grow. And we can do it if we do it together as Christ's body. I was reading a book by Len Fisher, The Weight of a Soul, I think is the name of it, or something similar. And in the last chapter, he talks about these microscopic amoebas that live in our garden soil. And he said, these amazing little, you can't see them, they're microscopic, they're all through the soil, and they eat the bacteria. And they regenerate soil. If there were not these amoeba, we wouldn't be able to grow anything. The soil would be overrun with the bacteria, it would kill off everything. But these amoeba eat everything. Now, the interesting thing about these amoeba is that all they do is eat and reproduce. And so, of course, they eat out all the food in their area. They eat everything, and they start to starve. But what these amoeba do is they send out a chemical signal, a distress signal, a hey, I'm starving signal, which draws the other amoeba in, and these little microscopic amoeba form a slug. Also pretty tiny, pretty microscopic. I don't think you can see it with the human eye. And this slug works its way to the soil surface, and then it throws up a stalk with a head on it, and that head bursts, and spores, amoeba, are set free on the wind, sent to other areas where there are bacteria to start all over again. Alone, they could do nothing except starve and die, because they respond to that chemical signal from their starving brothers and sisters, as it were, because they gather and form themselves into a body. They find a way for survival. They find a way to go beyond where they were, to move into new areas. And I find hope in that. And I wonder if we are not the same. Alone, we will starve. But if we gather together, if we hold on to who we are as God's children, we can explore new areas, new places. We can bring the gospel. We can bring hope. We can bring life well beyond our own borders. I invite you this day to consider how God is calling you, even now, to reach other people, to share your good news. How God is inviting you to let God grow within you. God is there and has been, but there's always that room and opportunity to grow a little more, to grow in a different way, to reach out, to be reshaped and reformed. We're stepping into a new time. You'll have whole new adventures with Pastor David. You'll find new things, new seeds that you will receive both ones that you want and say, yes, that's exactly what I needed, and a couple perhaps that you're going to say, that's exactly wrong. But then hopefully you'll say, so what is right? I look forward to hearing the good things that St. Paul's does. I look forward to working with you in this thing we call the United Methodist Church, in whatever form it takes in the years to come. I covet your prayers, and I will be praying for you as the seed takes root and continues to grow. Amen. Amen.